Hi, I'm Terry Wright.
And I am Michele Wright.
Welcome to my CF journey.
No, Terry, our CF journey.
Oh, yes, you're right, our CF journey.
And by the way, happy anniversary.
Thank you, and many more. 57, of course, black male, and my journey with CF has been from birth. And what's so ironic about it, I was only recently diagnosed 2 years ago. So my journey with CF of sickness, I've constantly stayed in and out the hospital since a child, Children's Hospital, and they normally would just say that he has a bug in his stomach, a virus, and just kind of send me home, shoot me up with Demerol, Finnegan, and just kind of relieve the pain, just tentatively. But it seems to come right back a couple of days later, so the pain can last up to a couple of weeks, constantly, you know, pain, just like someone to kick me in my stomach. And my journey also with the CF, patients experience it different. It attacked my GI system when I was much younger. Ended up having a Whipple surgery when they removed a piece of my pancreas and one of my ducts. And that was in 2001. And shortly after that, I just started having a whole lot of chronic pneumonia, chronic sinusitis. It would just wreak havoc on me. And I was just wondering what's really going on with me. I knew I was not normal. I had breathing issues. Even as a child, I had breathing issues. I thought it was like a seasonal asthma, but come to find out, it all relates back to the cystic fibrosis. And a lot of people come not diagnosed, especially being a black African American. You just can't say, well, you have a cold, you have pneumonia, you have sinusitis. They don't really do the research and take you through the things that they probably need to take you through. So I was recently diagnosed in 2000 once again with the cystic fibrosis. And when I was diagnosed, they sent me to a Children's Hospital. It was so ironic. The same place that kind of kicked me out was just saying it was a virus. They diagnosed me. I have good days and bad days. For the most part, I try to stay very active and very positive attitude about it. And keep in mind, I was only recently diagnosed 2 years ago, but I've been living with this disease from birth. And my understanding, both parents got to carry that gene. And so that's how I ended up with the cystic fibrosis. And that's my story.
To me, it's amazing, him being both African American and almost 57 years old.
Mm-hmm. And having CF. Well, I think it's amazing. It's really weird. Yeah, because you know normally it's a white kid's disease and they don't live past 18 or 20. But with modern medicine, things are getting better and everything. Wow, you're just a walking miracle with you. And
you don't think of a black man with cystic fibrosis at all. That's normally a Caucasian disease. They find it in other races now, but it's normally that gene carries in the Caucasian race. And they usually be shocked, especially of my age, 57, with cystic fibrosis. Come to find out, like I said, within 2 years ago, was diagnosed with the cystic fibrosis. So everything just like revelation to me now. Now I know why I think the way I think and why I feel the way I feel now, that this is not normal. Knowing what I know now with the cystic fibrosis, I probably, in fact, I won't probably, I know definitely my diet would have been different. I would have been concentrating more on eating even more healthier, more good organic green foods, drinking plenty of water. That's very important. You have to move that mucus and dilute it as much as possible. And of course, anything that's going to cause my lungs to work, my lung function, would be cycling, running, jogging, something gonna cause me to breathe deep into my lungs. These things right here is very healthy for the CF person to be very active working those lungs, because if not, stuff will just sit there and just be stagnant. You want to move that. So to help it move, work those lungs. So if I know what I know now, I would have been more active.
Advice do you have for other cystic fibrosis patients in general and African American cystic fibrosis patients specifically?
My advice is to hang in there.
Okay.
Stay encouraged. Because they're steady coming up with different improvement and ways of making your quality of life much better. It's cystic fibrosis patients. So just hang in there and try to stay encouraged. Support to me is everything, because you see people in your corner, for instance, my wife, and excellent support, because if it really wasn't for her, I probably would have died in 2000, because that's when I had that pancreas surgery, the Whipple surgery, when they removed a piece of my pancreas and one of my ducts. She encouraged me and just kind of baby me through the whole deal there, so to speak. And of course, I can go all the way back to mom as a child, just having my mother as that support. Because I remember as a child just being very, very sick, just constantly throwing up bowels. My mom would let me just get into bed with her. I would just curl up and just wish I was dead. That's the type of pain. But to have that support, that positive person in your life, or to have that support person to speak something positive in your life, means the world.
You know, as I think about it, probably nobody outside of his mother has seen my husband Terry Wright suffer from what will ultimately be diagnosed as cystic fibrosis more than me. My husband and I actually celebrated 19 years of wedding bliss today. Can you believe it? However, when I met my husband more than 20 years ago, little did I know the life-changing journey ahead of us both. So let me explain. Although I connected to Terry right away, I could tell something was wrong. His face appeared sunken in, and he was constantly going to the restroom after he ate because he could not keep down his food. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I knew he wasn't well. Matter of fact, I knew something was terribly wrong. I even came to learn that he spent the majority of his tender years at Arkansas Children's Hospital without any type of diagnosis outside of them saying it must be viral. To make matters worse, he would make an average of 2 to 3, sometimes even 4 trips a week to the hospital because of uncontrollable vomiting and extreme excruciating stomach pain. One of his many diagnoses was chronic pancreatitis, followed by many surgeries, including even gallbladder removal, in an effort to treat this unknown condition. What was a moment that almost decades came full circle is when an Indian doctor told us Terry unfortunately had double pneumonia. That was really not a surprise. However, he didn't stop there. He also injected that if Terry were not African American, he would conclude that he had the classic signs of cystic fibrosis. We all appear to dismiss this revelation. Nonetheless, we continue our journey to find answers, because I knew if we did not get help soon, my beloved Terry was going to die. No sugarcoating here. After much research and desperation in 2001, Terry and I met with Dr. Clifton Parnell, who immediately told us that Terry had the worst pancreas he had ever seen in his 30+ years of medical practice. All I could do is cry, because I saw the continual suffering, pain, and trauma on Terry's face and to his body. Subsequently, we decided to accept the risk, and Terry went under the knife for an 8-hour pancreaticojejunostomy to remove part of his pancreas and reroute his ducts. Following this major surgery and 1-month hospitalization, Terry's concerns migrated from his pancreas back to his lungs and the relentless flow of mucus in his sinus. Over the next 17 years, Terry would be hospitalized more times than I care to even count, with double pneumonia and extreme breathing issues. And to make matters worse, literally every medical specialist possible examined Terry and came to the same conclusion: double pneumonia, be it aspergillus, pneumococcal, mycoplasma, something even viral, to name a few, of an unknown origin. We even tried to have children over the years with no success, not understanding at that time that infertility is a classic sign of cystic fibrosis as well. Following his hospitalization on multiple occasions in 2016 for double pneumonia, bronchitis, and sinusitis, we finally both had enough and made a desperate plea to an infectious disease clinic at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, also known as UAMS. You know, life has a way of coming full circle. The Indian ID physician that examined Terry at UAMS said the same words that haunted us roughly 17 years earlier: if you were not African American. But this time, he decided to at least rule out cystic fibrosis and sent Terry back to Arkansas Children's Hospital, the same hospital he spent most of his debilitating childhood, to take a sweat chloride test. And finally, after 54, almost 55 years of suffering, Arkansas Children's Hospital, followed by subsequent testing at Johns Hopkins, confirmed Terry's shocking diagnosis of cystic fibrosis. As such, he is now under the care of UAMS Cystic Fibrosis Center and their multiple teams of specialists, and looks forward to celebrating his 58th birthday next year. However, my first question was obvious. Why in the world did it take literally 5.5 decades to diagnose what were the so very obvious classic signs of cystic fibrosis? Well, the reasons were both evident and heartbreaking, and to be honest, quite disturbing. He is African American, and unfortunately, assumptions due to his race and ethnicity were made, resulting in 55 years of an underlying unmet medical condition and diagnosis. And although it is devastating to think of all the years of suffering without an appropriate diagnosis, Terry has now made it his mission and passion through the founding of the National Organization of African Americans with Cystic Fibrosis, also known as NOAACF or NOAACF, to help raise cystic fibrosis awareness in the African American community, while serving as a beacon of hope to cystic fibrosis patients across multiple diverse demographics. NOAACF and Terry's goals are to connect, help build diverse communities, and raise CF awareness in the African American community and beyond through its national platform, thus ensuring that all individuals, without exception, are appropriately diagnosed and treated for cystic fibrosis. This is our mission, this is our purpose, this is our duty. this is our responsibility. So please join us and let's make a change for the better in the diverse spectrum of cystic fibrosis for not only today, but for generations to come.